Hello, I'm Phil Hall and welcome to this digital photo video tutorial where I'll show you how to add a pleasing cool tone effect to a long exposure shot. Long exposures can be achieved anywhere, be it in the city, countryside or beach, as these three examples show. Because we've managed to capture areas of movement in these scenes thanks to the slow shutter speeds used, it can turn a pretty undramatic subject into a shot that has a lot more impact and interest, as your eye is instantly drawn in. You'll find more info on how this was done in the magazine, but let's turn our attention to our start image, where I'll show you how to add a cool tone effect to a shot. So, if you'd like to open up brandcaster.jpg from this month's CD, we can crack on. Okay, if you'll just bear with me while I close these other two shots down, I'll just bring up my start image. There it is. I'm just going to maximise it so you have a clearer view. That's our start image. It's a nice beach scene. We've got a long exposure there, so you can see the sea's gone into this nice misty blur along with the foreground water there as well. But I want to cool this down, and I can do that by using a series of tricks that I'm going to show you now. So what I want you to do first off is to bring up your layers palette. You can either hit F7 on your keyboard and it'll appear, or you can go to Window and down to layers and select it there. Okay, so this is my layers palette, and the first thing I want to do is go down to the bottom and click create new full of adjustment layer. This is in Photoshop. If you're using elements, it's just above your thumbnail on the layers palette. Click on it, and from the drop down palette select hue saturation. Okay, as you can see, we've got a new adjustment layer appeared in our layers palette, and this is our hue saturation dialog box. Just drag it over to the side there so we can see a little bit better what we're doing with the image. First thing I want to do is click colorize. Now don't be panicked when it goes like this. We can rectify that by using these three sliders to get our cool tone effect. First one I'm going to do is select the hue slider and drag it all the way from 0 along the scale there. You can see we'll go through a range of colours and we're gradually starting to cool it down. So when I get to around about 224, it's starting to look how I want. So round about there, release, so I'm happy with that hue I've got. We move down to the saturation slider now, and I'm just going to boost that up a bit, not a lot, just increase it a tad to just over 30. If I click back off preview, that's what we had, that's our original shot, and this is our cool tone effect at the moment. Get the lightness slider now, just drag it down, just going to darken it off a little bit, round about -7, there we go, and then I'm going to hit OK. Okay, as we're using an adjustment layer, if I just hide that, we've still got our background layer unaffected beneath, so it's really quite handy using these adjustment layers like we are, because we're basically maintaining the integrity of our background layer, so if we don't like anything we can go back and we can change it. So at the moment we've got a cool tone effect, it's looking pretty intense. So what I'm going to do is change the blending mode. I can do that by clicking from this drop down where it says normal down, and we've got a range of options here. But what I'm going to choose is soft light. If I click on that, you'll see that just boosts the contrast up. We've still got that cool toned feel, but it's not as severe as it was, and it's looking really nice. You've got another option if you want as well. You can use overlay. It gives a slightly different effect, a lot more contrast in there. If you want, you can take down the opacity just to reduce that, but I'm personally going to stick with soft light for this one because I just think it's a little bit more subtle and I prefer that look. Okay, I'm now going to move on to the levels here. I think we're losing some form in the water, and I just want to accentuate that a bit because it does look really nice, those sort of sweeping lines. I can do that by adjusting the levels just in this area here. I'm quite happy with what's going on with the sky and sea in the distance. It's just this foreground interest. So I'm going to get a rectangular marquee tool from the toolbox, click on it, and then I'm going to move over and make a selection of the bottom half of my image. I'm just going to drag it out and across. So you've got marching ants running around there, probably a bit too much, so I'm just going to make another selection. Yeah, just below the sea there. There we go. So that's our selection, but we want to feather this selection. But I should point out, before we do that, you've got to make sure you clicked back on your background layer, because you're only going to be making a selection of this adjustment layer, and we don't want that. So make sure you got your background selected. And I'm going to go up to refine edge to make my selection, so we've got a nice smooth transition when we make our changes. So I'm going to go to refine edge because I'm using CS3 and a feather of around about 130. So hit OK. If you're using an earlier version of Photoshop, all you have to do is go down to select, feather, and then key in the same amount, 130 pixels. If you're using elements, you've got select, refine, edge as well. That gives a slightly better result than doing select, feather. Okay, with that done, I'm now going to create a new fill or adjustment layer. I'm just going to click on that. This one, I want to select levels. Okay, we've got a levels pop-up box again. And again, it's an adjustment layer, and you can see the adjustment has been masked out, so we're only going to change this bottom area. What I'm going to do is just drag the shadows in, or the darkest pixels in. You can see we're starting to get a bit more form in there. If I click back off preview, and then with the highlights, I'm just going to drag them in as well. So I click back, and that's just boosted that up nicely. Okay, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to hit OK. Then click back on my background layer. I'll just click back. Yeah, you can see the changes we made. That's just boosted that up nicely. Okay, I just want to add an overall sort of zip of contrast to the entire image. I'm not going to make any selections, just to boost it up a tad. In Photoshop, I'll show you how to do this. I'll show you to do in elements in a moment, but if you just bear with me, I'm going to go to create new fill or adjustment layer again, go up to curves, and then in this pop-up box, I'm going to just change this line into a subtle S-curve, and that just boosts the contrast nicely. You can see it there, it's looking a lot sort of more punchier. So I'm going to hit OK. So if I click back, yeah, it's just giving it a little bit more zip. Right, for elements users, I'll just show you how it's done with you guys. I'm going to click into elements for a moment. I've done the same changes in elements as I did with Photoshop. So I've done my hue saturation layer there, and I've done my levels on the foreground. But if I try and do curves, you'll notice I haven't got any here. So all I have to do is go to enhance, down to adjust color, and you'll see adjust color curves. We get this dialog box pop up. We've got a before and after. We've got default at the moment. If I select increase contrast, you'll see we get that similar S curve to what we did sort of use in Photoshop. We can accentuate that a bit more just by using these sliders. You see that increase there, just dip there, probably a bit too much. I'm going to just edge it off, and that's looking spot on. So I'm going to hit OK, and that's how you can just boost the contrast in elements. Right, I'm just going to click back into Photoshop, and there you go, a simple yet effective cool tone technique that you can apply to any image that works really well with these kind of misty, eerie shots. Why not go out and try a long exposure shot yourself? They're really good fun to do, and the results can look really dramatic and effective. Anyway, that's me done. Thanks for watching. Cheers.